Oh, trying to warm my legs up now. So as I said, 9 years ago, so I got lied about in 2015. I did. I had my devices hacked as well, which I did. Oh God, I'm not a fool. When you get monitored, surveillanced, practically bugged. Not to mention, I got the feedback from it. This went on for 9 years, and I'm sitting back. So my mother's made up bullshit stories to get away with her behavior. It's like you do know everything's criminal. You can't just continue down the path, which is what has happened. It's like, how'd you do it? Like, you lied and said I was suicidal so you could actually try and manipulate and get away with a certain behavior. I've never been suicidal in my life ever. And then you lied and said I used drugs, and you lied and tried to make me out to be mentally retarded. So then I played a prank back on people from 2016 to 2018 to try and catch some organisations out. But in my, how do I say this? In my defence, there you go, pretty much. Giovanni Consalvo knew, because he was told in 2016. I said, go back and tell the truth. You have lied and you've involved organisations in this lie. He's always, oh, I haven't lied, Justin. It's like, yes, you have. You lied in 2015 to my mother and my family. You've lied in the past. You lied in 2013. There's all sorts of groups and organisations like the Crisis Group, the Reach Out Group that has involved. They got involved back in 2013 when I was overseas because you lied. And that was, because George Jacobs had wrong information. Like, it has cost me well over 100,000. And here's the thing. So I had a conversation yesterday, and you've got arseholes saying, okay, for an example, okay, oh, how much does it cost you in damages? Right. When I moved to America to buy my condo, I still had over 100,000. I'm not an idiot. Like, in 2015, Giovanni's going to my mum saying, oh, he's gone for all his money. I don't know what he does with it. It's like, that's not true. It's because I won't spend it on you. I'm not going to spend my savings on you when I have just paid, like, for his problems. So when I met Giovanni Consalvo, he was living in a share house in Kensington with Paula. Her last name starts with E. I can't remember it because I never really cared. She lives in Ninman now. And he had no money. He was struggling in massive, huge amounts of debt. He didn't even own his car. Like, he had everything. Like, he had nothing except for a mattress, a TV, and an Xbox. That's all Giovanni actually had. No clothing, no nothing. Like, really, the clothing he had ended up getting thrown out. I brought him his suits when he was working for Manta. So that's actually what happened. Now, when I first met him, because I've always used, like, back in Surrey Hills, my paperwork was scattered over the dining table. And it was. And there's a bank statement which has his handwriting on it, and I've circled it, made a note of that because he reckons, he goes, oh, I never knew you had 140,000 like just in one savings account. I'm like, yes, you did, because you wrote on that bank statement, you wrote a note on that bank statement. That's your handwriting, so don't lie. So when I first met him, he knew how much money I had, and he kept saying, oh, well, can't you help me? Can you, like, pay for this? It's like, no, you're living for free, which Giovanni Consalvo lived for free with me. So from the day he met me, and he's gone back to me and said, but you told me I didn't have to pay for anything because you had to pay it anyway. It's like, okay, that's true, because it was my property. So my gas, my electricity and everything, and whether Giovanni lived with me or not, I'll be paying around about the same. It didn't make much difference. So that's true. But you didn't have to keep going down the path of what you did. You lived for free since you moved into my place in Surrey Hills. You only started contributing, closer to 2014. That's a lot of years living for free. Like, that's, 4 years almost, well, close to 4 years where you never had to pay any rent or any utilities. That's a long time, and that's the truth. So, yeah, I had over 140,000 in one bank account. When I brought my car, so in 2012, the money from the cars previously that I had in my other bank account paid for that car. So for an example, back in 2005, I must be so the car I sold in 2005 was a collectible. Okay, it was a Nissan Silvia that was a racing car, and it ended up becoming a collectible. It moved from to like a collectible, and I can't think what else. But I ended up having people fight over it because it was an imported car. There wasn't many of them. Hard to get. Mine was a pearl blue through it. And then I had the red Alfa Romeo after that, and the black Alfa Romeo. So I've always had sports cars and imported cars. And, then I got the car that I to, well, say, a downsize with not having sports cars and just had a two-door coupe with the 325i. And 325i, I was looking at the models back in 2006. Mind you, the 325i, the BMW is a car that my grandfather, Reginald George Purdy, brought up back in 2000. When did I buy? It was 2002. I can't think what month. It was getting cold. So back in 2002, when I brought the Sylvia, the Nissan Sylvia, I'm out in Kerry Road, Blacktown, washing the car. I used to always bring it out there and wash it. And, talking with Pop, and Pop said, get a German car. Honestly, if I never, like, meaning himself, if he never had kids, he would have just, like, and then said, oh yeah, your father, meaning your grandfather, Reg, Pop, he always had sports cars until we had kids. We had to get cars that suited our lifestyle. We had kids, Justin, and then, with your Pop, with his pigeons and so forth. But he said, yeah, your Pop loved his sports cars. He had one that had a dicky seat in it. So the third seat was the dicky seat. Nan used to tell me all stories. And there's photos of Nan standing outside of one of Pop's cars. And Pop said, oh, I'll get a German car. He said, honestly, like, that's, even when I was young, he said they're the best cars. So this is back in 2002. I said, all right. I said, I promise when I get fed up with the Italian cars, I'll get a German car. And Pop told me, he said, they're reliable. He said, look at all Pop's tools, all his drills, his lawnmower, all his, they were Husqvarna's, Husqvarna, Hoover, or whatever, everything he said has the German motor in it. Even when it comes to the Karcher, so the high pressure cleaner that used to clean with, he said it's Karcher. He said, you want to buy German motors. He said they're the best, they ever break down. He said, you'll never have to do a thing with a German motor. And I'll tell you what, he was right. Christ almighty. I've still got receipts from, because I collect receipts, I like to watch where my money is. I'm very anal retarded like my dad, Mark Fleming, when it comes to every last dime. So when I was a teenager with my first cars, of course you had to have your first cars. Well, I didn't want to have my first cars as a trial car. I already trialed, because even back when I was purchasing in 1997, I'm looking for the trading post in Blacktown and Kerry Road. I'm looking at Alfa Romeos back then. I was looking at the Clover. And it wasn't my mum, Carol, should remember this, because she popped up to Pop and said, he's looking at friggin' sports cars. Oh, that's it. He'll get his license and he'll lose it within the first day he gets it. And then Pop said, and Pop just rolled his eyes and goes, do what your mother said. You can get a sports car when you're 21 for now. Until he goes, you think of the premiums, Justin. He said, you're under 21, it'll be through the roof. Wait till you're 21. So as soon as I was 21, I got a sports car. So then I was like, okay, fine, I'm not getting a sports car, I'll get a muscle car. So I still had a hotted up muscle car. I've never had anything else except for really good cars, except for one car. That was a Ford, because my mother made me buy it. It was actually, I just needed the car, basically. It was like, I was in between cars, I needed the car. She goes, just buy this, it's good. And I was like, oh, God, because Mum wanted it, basically. That's why. So basically I brought the car for Mum. Anyway, I was looking at all the, receipts and so forth. And the BMW didn't cost me as much as the old cars that I had in my teenage years, like service-wise and so forth. Like, if you look at the mileage and how much I got out of them, that was great. Anyway, so let's get back to it. So sold the car. One car paid for the other car. Even had to add a bit more savings in it. For example, say, if a car got written off, or whatever, or because you never have it. I've got to learn my lesson and have things as a specific value, not market value. Because God, market value is nothing, isn't it? Especially when you put so much work and money into cars, and then you're like, you've got it insured for market value, and something happens, and it's like, oh fuck. But this has got a whole complete new surround sound system and different tires and so forth. It's like, great. All right. Anyway, not here or there. So, for example, we'll say if you sell a car, you've got 10,000 and you've got to put another 10,000 with it for another car, type thing. But I always had my money. I always had large savings accounts. I had more than one savings account. I had two different banks, and I had the exact same accounts in both banks. So 2 accounts in one bank, 2 accounts in the other bank, and I used to call it my twin bank. So, for example, if I was actually transferring money from, let's just call it Bank S to Bank A, and I'm going from my savings account from Bank S to my savings account, which is very identical to Bank A, I would say transfer from the twin account, Justin, to Amanda. But it's not Amanda. I used to name it because I'm a twin. So it was my little sort of glitch because I said, or things like this. So I used to put in my sort of, as I used to go, my twin account, because they were identical. They were two different banks with the identical accounts. And or I'll put transfer from savings to vault, things like this. Like, it's not a vault. Like, you understand what I'm saying? But that was like, okay, the vault was getting locked away, and then that money would go into fixed term deposits. And I was doing this my entire life, so I had a lot of money. By the time I was mugged, I had a lot of money. I should have kept going and not reneged on the contract for 52 Lantana Drive at Long Beach, because I brought a house there, and then I got mugged after work. So I still had my other investment place, 16 Scott Road, sold that in 2008, made a good chunk of money, and I had all this to go to America with. But in the last 9 years, somebody started making up a story that I was a drug dealer or a drug user, and it's like, no, I'm not. And then I just deliberately went out and played a prank on people from 2016 to 2018 because they called me that. That's what it was. And then some other idiots were trying to make out to be mentally retarded. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm mentally retarded. Hi, Nana Ruby. Like, being a dickhead. It was just me being a smartass. And the thing is, I told Giovanni I was going to do that. So he already knew that I was going to do that back in 2016. Because I said, I'm getting my privacy invaded. I'm actually getting monitored and surveillance by an organization. And he was being a smartass about it. I'm like, all right, fine. If you can't get rid of this, the fact that I'm bugged, practically bugged, because I was calling it, which it is. I've got monitoring, I've got surveillance. My entire life's been put under, even to do with organizations, because suddenly people are looking at it going, well, hang on, if he's not working, where's all this money coming from? It's like, oh my God, ask me. And it's nothing to do with you. It's to do with, like, if anyone needs to know, it's my money, and you can ask me. And if I'm for an example, when I was off work recovering from being mugged in November 30th, 2007, I was on part salary payment. That was considered salary. So it didn't fall under insurance or anything. It fell under salary. So it actually comes up as salary earnings. Okay. I wasn't on any benefit from the government. It was considered salary. And believe me, if you saw what happened when I was mugged after work, you can see, that's why I always to my face here. You can see that's okay, but here's smashed in. People say, you've recovered. It's like, no, my face is still smashed in. Like, you don't realize that I've actually do have, when you actually start looking at both sides of my face, my left side's damaged still badly here. And I have to see this every day. You can see, like, this was all the damage right through here. So it was all damaged right through here. So no, sorry. I've recovered from it and whatever. Yes, but, superficial damage is there. My back's still bad. My disc is still bad. My knee's still bad. And it's going to be bad for the rest of my life. And I still get migraines and I get vision problems in my left eye. So, I look sometimes I feel like a freak. I've got to look a certain way so I can catch the right side, because it feels like when I'm with this one, it's like, well, I'm not quite getting as good as view as my right eye. So don't tell me. It's like I went through fucking hell just to get part salary payment. And I've just gone through hell now for 9 years. Like, this is ridiculous. And it should have stopped. I should have had a really good solicitor back 9 years ago say, right, Justin worked his ass off. That's his money. Okay? Justin worked at Star Casino as a VIP host, was on $47,730 a year as a salary package. Then he did 2 side jobs as a laborer, which I did, $25 an hour. Okay? Cash in hand, fine. We don't know what he earned there, and keep your mouth shut because you didn't pay taxes on it, basically. He had an investment property that he made money from, 16 Scott Road, Tamworth. Had that rented out the entire time. When he sold it, he, little mortgage to pay. That money went to his bank account. His expensive furniture, clothing, jewelry, everything, his shoes. Everyone brought up, oh, look how much shoes he's got. And I'm still wearing the same shoes. Like, if they're not cheap, $20 ones that look stylish, the good quality Italian ones and the good quality wooden sole ones, a lot of them are from my early 20s. They're from late 90s and early 2000s. A lot of them when I was, and then I've got ones from my teenage years. Plus, when I'm working at Star Casino, yeah, I was on a good salary and I worked for it and enjoyed it and enjoyed what I had. That's mine. things. And there would have been nothing wrong with my life at all if the last 9 years didn't happen. You try and get that across to a solicitor, because we're talking about my money, my assets, belongings. And now we're talking about people surveillancing me because they've made up stories that, oh, we sold cannabis during high school and that's where his money came from. That was a joke. That was goddamn well fucking said as a joke. Oh, where's his money come from? And I had organizations harass me for 9 years. It's like, okay, does my family want to get me a solicitor? Could you just get me a solicitor? Like, it's so easy to have this resolved before it caused me damage. Do you know it cost me 80,000 American? Because when I sold my condo in the US, I had still savings and so forth. I sold it. I couldn't get along in America because of it. They wanted me to go through every last cent, dime, asset, belonging, everything. So it's all gone because I had no way to live on during COVID except for my selling my condo, my savings. They wouldn't. There was. I hate immigration. I tell you what, I won't ever support immigrants in Australia, except I feel like I should be treating them worse. I should be treating them how I was treated in America, which is like, oh, you should be having 160,000 before you move to Australia, and you've got to spend it all. You know, and don't you think that you're going to come in here and get any help from anyone? You're on your own. Oh, and give all your assets and belongings away. Because we don't treat people like that in Australia. They come over here with their assets, belongings and savings and they enjoy a good life. I went to America with my assets, belongings and savings and got fucking ridiculed and went through hell for 3.5 years.